Welcome to Remotely One's NSFRW Not Safe for Remote Work, where we invite employees at all levels to share their most outrageous moments while working remotely. Do you have a story to tell? We want to hear it. You can submit your story at remotelyone.com/podcast. Today's guest is originally from Wisconsin and now lives in the greater Chicago area. She is a freelance content marketer and a journalist. She also loves taking naps. Anna Burgess Yang, come on down!
You caught me during my non-nap time, so that's a good thing.
Oh, studio audience. Settle down, studio audience. They get too crazy. They get too crazy.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. So wait, you're not napping.
I'm not napping right now, but that is one of the perks.
Write this down. How fortunate we are to catch her during non-nap hours.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Anna, thank you. It's nice to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and then tell us the story that you have for us?
Yeah, so just a very brief about me. I have been a remote employee since 2006. So if you want to map that out, that has been a while. All the way from my first full-time job outside of college, I was working remotely. And now, after working at tech companies for a long time and then working at content marketing agencies, now I'm a freelancer and freelance full-time and provide resources for other freelancers. So have not seen an office since August of 2006. So have been rocking the remote life for a very long time.
Congrats. Congratulations. Good for you.
Yeah, so I'd love to share, to start with, like a little bit of how that came about, because everybody kind of thinks like 2006, like was remote work even a thing? And it kind of wasn't. So first job out of college, I started working remotely for a financial technology company. I was living in Wisconsin and the company was in Kansas. So I relocated myself down to Kansas, but I was also recently married. I was a newlywed at the time. My husband was still finishing college and he couldn't relocate because like at that point in college, like you cannot, like you would lose too many credits. You need to finish out where you're at. And this was such a great opportunity for me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Kansas. And I drove back and forth from Topeka, Kansas to Wisconsin every other weekend to see my husband.
Now, how long of a drive was that?
8 hours each direction.
Oh my God.
So I would leave on Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. I would drive to Des Moines, Iowa, and stay in like a Super 8 motel because that's all I could afford. I would sleep until like 6 a.m. and then I would drive the additional 4 hours to Wisconsin to spend about 24 hours with my husband and then head back to Topeka, which was hard.
That's love and dedication.
It was incredibly hard.
Wow.
And so after about 6 months, I'm like, this is nonsense. I can't do this. No job is worth this. So I started applying to other jobs and I got a job in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which would have cut my driving time in half, 4 hours instead of 8 hours. I was like, perfect. This is much better. So I turned in my notice to my company and my manager was like, fine, we'll see you later. Bye. And then I was sitting in an airport because I traveled a ton for work on top of all of this. I traveled. And so I was sitting in an airport headed to Montana to work with a client. And I got an email from the chief operating officer of the company. And she said, we want you to stay. We're going to give you a raise. We're going to give you a company cell phone. And we will let you work from anywhere. She said, I know that this job that you were offered is getting you closer to home, but I am going to give you the chance to be home. Nice. And so I was like, yes, please. I called my husband in the airport and I said, I'm coming home.
Wow. What motivated her to even give you that opportunity?
Well, I guess I was good at my job. So
yeah, that helps.
I was really good. It was a tech company. And so I implemented this complex software for banks and credit unions. And I had a background in banking. So she saw in me that I was an employee worth keeping. So it wasn't something I asked for. It was something that was offered to me. And so that started my remote work journey. And for 4 years, I was one of only 2 remote employees at the company. And everybody else was centered in the office in Topeka. But then in 2010, the company decided we're going to open up remote work to everybody. And so that's when kind of things really shifted, because before that, it was just me. I had to figure things out on my own. But then the company eventually kind of caught up and said, this is great for everyone. And then things really changed.
Wow. And were people reaching out to you asking for your advice and stuff like that? And how did you experience the company culture change?
It was really big, because when I worked remotely, I very rigidly sat at my desk from 8 to 5 every day.
Right.
I felt like I had to. Right? I had something to prove. I was given this privilege to work remotely and nobody else was. And so I felt like I really had to do my job. And when everybody else was, it was a big shift. How do we manage our kids at home, or not as at home, but kids around? And how do we manage maybe we don't work these traditional hours. Maybe we kind of work when it makes sense for us.
And this is 2010. So you're talking Skype. You're talking probably Skype, maybe WebEx, maybe.
WebEx was a big one. But back then, people didn't expect video calls in the way they do now.
So all conference calls.
It was all audio. We finally got a voice over IP phone system. When I started, they couldn't figure that part out. So I had a separate phone line that was a local phone line. And so if customers wanted to talk to me, they had to call this different number to get in touch with me. But, when the whole company went remote, they're like, okay, we're going to figure out how to make this work for everybody. And then it became really different.
Pretty cool.
I would imagine.
Awesome. So what other stories do you have for us as a remote worker? I mean, that's interesting. 2006. So you're an OG. So you experience all those different types of technologies, really forward thinking by your company. Pretty neat. So now you're a professional.
Yeah.
So you've experienced all sorts of things.
Yeah. So back then, a little bit more than now, maybe, the company really did not want to know if you had kids around in particular or anything, and part of it was professionalism. We were working with banks and credit unions. We were really kind of on the hush hush that we worked remotely. We didn't want them to know that.
You wore a suit.
You did not know, customers did not necessarily know that we were all working from our homes.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a spoken/unspoken mandate that you did not have any noise around. You did not have any distractions around. Mm-hmm. And 2 things in particular that I remember, both involved kids. Eventually I became the director of the customer success department. And one of my employees had this critical meeting with her customer, trying to part of their process. Mm-hmm. And I don't exactly know how this happened, but somehow her kid locked her out of the house. She was outside and her kid was inside, pointing, laughing,
got you, mommy. Got you,
mommy. So she's rolling around trying to figure out how to get back in her house. She's got this meeting with a client or customer that doesn't know that she works from home. And how do you explain something like that? And
Let me in the house. Let me in the house.
And I think now, kind of collectively, we've kind of okay, people work from home, stuff happens. But it was so hilarious because in my mind, as I'm hearing this story kind of unfolding in real time about how she can't get on this call because she's locked out of her house, I'm picturing her running around her house trying to figure, desperately emailing the customer from her phone to be I'm sick or I'm something. Any explanation other than what had actually happened was that her kid locked out of the house.
What had happened? What had happened
was that she'd been locked out of her house by her kid.
You can't tell the truth.
And then another one that I will laugh about to this day is we were on a all hands company meeting, and the CEO was talking through the company financials and how we're doing and all that. So we're all remote. We're very used to it at this point. Well, somebody forgot to put themselves on mute as
Classic.
like, I don't know how long we all have to be working remotely before we like figure this out.
I mean, all the time.
And he was potty training his toddler.
Oh, okay.
Like during the company meeting. And so we're all cheering on this call, like, come over here, sit on the potty. Good job. And my boss is texting me, like, who is that? We could not figure out who it was. Like, we kind of did the math. We knew it was a male voice. We knew which males in the company had, like, that age child.
So you're frantic because, like, he's trying to give the whole company update, and you have
somebody,
Stevie, on the phone line saying,
yeah,
good job, little Johnny. You see the poo-poo?
Yeah.
You see the poo-poo? Is that me doing the diaper?
That is exactly what we all heard.
Oh my God.
Oh my. Yeah, Daddy, you like it? You see the poop in there?
Right. And without like a system where, you know, like Zoom, where you can mute all attendees, we weren't on anything like that.
Correct.
It was a WebEx stuff. Yeah, we had nothing. Or the CEO, like, was just plowing through, and we had no way of muting this person. We were like, who is this? Who is this? Oh my God. And so, you know, life happens when you're working remotely, and sometimes you are potty training your toddler while you're on a company conference call. But at that point, like, forgetting to hit the mute button, as experienced as we were, it was a couple of years into it, we're like, oh my God, please make it stop.
Gosh.
Please make it stop.
I mean, Rick, I can just totally see this skit reenactment that we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I'll be the baby. I'll be the baby. I'll wear the diaper guy. I'll wear the diaper. Yeah. But like, it's just, we haven't had the potty train on the conference call yet. Story.
It was bound to happen.
I'm sure it's happened, and nobody else has like heard about it, like heard it happen.
Yeah. Like, you remember potty training. All sorts of, kids say the darndest things. That's why it's hilarious. You know?
Yeah. I mean? And every parent is like, oh yes, I have been there. Like, I've been there where I'm trying to multitask on the conference call.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now you've opened the floodgates and invited everybody to tell that exact story, because you know it's happened to more than one person.
Oh, I'm sure.
No doubt. No doubt. Anna, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your stories. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
I am best found on LinkedIn, because that's where I'm most active. And then from there, you can go to my website, you can go to, you know, reach out, connect with me. But that's kind of like a central hub for like finding me on the internet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Come back anytime. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Peace.